This is all election nonsense. And I'll tell you something, Democrats, you better figure out something else to run against. Because this whole Kamala Harris is a prosecutor and Donald Trump is a felon, what you guys could actually run against is that Donald Trump was such a disaster through all of 2020.
Here's the thing.
The reality about the checks and balances of the American democratic process was they were actually very robust. You know, Trump may not have accepted the result of the 2020 election, but he's not in the White House. He's not president of the United States. You know, he had to go that day.
Have you read?
Bang, out the door. So the checks and balances did work.
I mean, I don't understand. We know you talk to Trump regularly, Piers. I'm surprised you don't have a white bandage on your ear right now, honestly. And we've seen and we've read all 920 pages of Project 2025, and in it, it says that instead of the police, the military should be patrolling the streets.
Which the president has disavowed time and again.
That is,
the president has said that he does not support Project 2025.
Even though every single person who wrote it was a former Trump advisor. Come on, give me a break. Stephen Miller is in
Trump himself has said that he does not support Project 2025. We're supposed to think that you believe more about what President Trump believes than what he has said himself he believes. It's
CJ,
crazy.
Oh, you know what's in his heart. You know what.
She said, you know what's in his heart. I don't think that's a fair argument. If he never said, I endorse this, you can't just forcibly place a piece of legislation or documentation on Donald Trump. That's not fair, man. You're talking about what's in his heart. We could be talking about all day what's in anyone's heart.
What's in his heart.
If you want to see what President Trump believes, go to DonaldJTrump.com, read Agenda 47.
What's in his heart?
Read Agenda 47.
How about this? How about we don't go with what's in his heart and we go with the 4-year track record? I mean, you know, the problem here is that, and look, to your point, obviously the rhetoric on both sides has been elevated tremendously over the last few years. It's been very divisive times in this country. And both sides are guilty of this or right to do it, however you look at it. But people do lose their collective minds when it comes to Donald Trump. Look, these comparisons, the idea that he's some Hitlerian figure is ridiculous. Even the comparisons to Mussolini, this is all silliness. Donald Trump was president for 4 years, okay? He did a lot of things bad. I was a big critic of his foreign policy. His fiscal policy was very bad. I do not think he handled COVID well, but these are problems kind of similar to previous presidents before that. His rhetoric is much more bombastic than other presidents were, okay? That's the reality that we're dealing in. And the fact that you guys have to take this up to 11, as if there's some existential threat to the republic that isn't, by the way, you want to know the real existential threat to, hold on just 1 second, let me finish. The real existential threat to our republic right now is that debt is over, the interest on our debt is overtaking our entire budget. And this is something that Democrats and Republicans are both guilty of. So they don't want to talk about that.
He low-key spit at facts. Where is this guy? He low-key spit at facts, man. He spit at facts. And one thing that he said that I agree with is that, yeah, Donald Trump made mistakes when he was president, but every president makes mistakes. I don't think there was ever in history a perfect president. Not Biden, not Trump. And whoever the future president is going to be, whether it's Kamala or whether it's Donald Trump again, they will not be perfect. But with a lot of, and I've noticed this, a lot of Democrats like to hold Donald Trump to this unrealistic, superior standard of perfection. If he does not do every single thing right, he's Hitler. He's a terrible person. Nobody is perfect, man. And people do that with Biden too. They say, well, Biden. Be objective here. No person is perfect. No president is perfect. We're not perfect when I go to work or when you go to work. When I do videos, I'm not perfect. It just happens.
Because it's, you know, it condemns both of them. But the reality of the situation is that whatever happened on January 6th that got out of control, there certainly was violence there. Donald Trump got on a plane and went back to Mar-a-Lago. He was never calling in the military. There was never a chance that he was going to institute a dictatorship in the United States of America. This is all election nonsense. And I'll tell you something, Democrats, you better figure out something else to run against. Because this whole Kamala Harris is a prosecutor and Donald Trump is a felon, The American people have rejected this already. No one cares about these charges that wouldn't have been brought to any other former president, okay? This isn't going to do it. You got to have something of substance. You know, the problem is what you guys could actually run against is that Donald Trump was such a disaster through all of 2020, and he kept Fauci on the job, and he kept Americans locked down. The problem is you guys were criticizing him for not locking down harder. So I don't know what angle you're going to find. There's plenty of flaws on him. The problem is you guys are worse on most of the issues he's bad on.
David, be better than that. Quit saying you guys. Everybody opposes Donald Trump for their own reason. Quit saying you guys. And I'm sorry, quit saying those of us who do believe, and you can disagree, Dave, those of us who do believe Trump is a unique threat to democracy, quit saying we've lost our minds. Come on, man. I haven't lost
my mind. You've absolutely lost your mind.
Absolutely
lost your mind.
Hold on, CJ.
Nah, here's the thing. Here's the thing, bro. Here's a question I have for the guy in a nice. It's a pretty nice suit. Here's a question. If someone says you've lost your mind, why would they be wrong? And hear me out. I'm asking why would they be wrong, and I want a real answer. The reason I say why would they be wrong is because Donald Trump was president for 4 years. Like, we kind of skate over that, but he was president for my entirety, like a 4-year period. That's a long time. He was president for a full term. Well, did those years just not happen? Did our democracy crumble under Donald Trump? And this is a real question. Because if you're saying that he's a threat to democracy, that if he gets in office, we'll be done. He was in office. He was. Are we done? Were we done then? Better question. Are we better now than we were then? Economically? No. So how is he a threat? Like, real question. Please, somebody answer me. How is he a threat?
Let me finish, CJ. I'm older than you, Dave and CJ. In my lifetime, I've never seen a president lose an election and refuse to concede. I've never seen a president try to overthrow the results of that election. You can disagree with the severity of that.
But Joe, hold on 1 second. But let's just be real specific here. Hold on.
Real specific. January 6th, 2021. Real specific for you, my guy.
Wait, this is Dave and CJ. I feel like are not willing to look into the deeper aspects. I mean, Donald Trump is someone who's had a whole fake electors plot, sent fake electors to my state of Georgia, and tried to, essentially take the will of the people away. He had the Department of Justice in the Oval Office demanding that they sign a letter that with a DOJ header that said they believed there was election interference, and 2 DOJ officials resigned over that. Again, it is so dishonest to say that Donald Trump was normal or that people are losing their minds when they say he's a threat to democracy. I mean, he tried and went through every single illegal and legal action to overturn the election. And why people are freaked out is because if you have another Trump presidency where he could install loyalists, all of a sudden those checks and balances
let me just because you guys are both making different arguments here, but let me
invalidated under a Trump
don't talk over each other.
The Constitution.
Dave and CJ, let me just make one more
finish,
point.
CJ, and then I'll come to Dave, and then we'll wrap.
I'll shut up for good. One more point. It's now Kamala Harris against Donald Trump.
Joe.
It's Kamala Harris against Donald Trump. If Kamala Harris loses in November, Kamala Harris will concede and she'll accept the will of the people. If Donald Trump loses in November, he won't and he won't. That is a threat.
Yeah. Well, I just want to.
Okay, but look, here's if I were to say, and I want honestly,
they have not learned their lesson.
Hold on, let me just respond to.
Let Dave respond, then I'll come to CJ.
So if I were to say right now, I want to overthrow democracy in the United States of America and institute a dictatorship, I don't think anyone on the panel is very freaked out by that because I have no power to do it. Like, it doesn't really matter if I want to do it or not. Now, I will kind of agree with you guys. thought the way Trump handled the 2020 election was terrible. I did think he was kind of using like bully tactics when he called the Secretary of State in Georgia there. But the bottom line is that he had no mechanism to actually overthrow democracy, and it was a totally like impotent attempt to even do it. So listen, hold on. Let me just finish, because I let you guys go for a second. Let me just finish making my point here. This is the problem with you guys going to this well over and over again. It was never actually a threat to overthrow democracy. If you want to talk about people who haven't accepted the results of elections, Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, Stacey Abrams, they all have said these were illegitimate elections or there was outside interference. There is nothing. Look, you guys are listen, just hear me for a second. Consider, yes, they conceded. Okay, so they conceded and he didn't. Okay, so by the magical power of saying I concede, that somehow makes us a democracy and not a dictatorship. You guys are obsessing over this thing that most Americans don't actually care that much about.
I agree. We've got to leave it there. We've run out of time. Great panel. Thank you.
Nah, he just snapped. But he's telling the truth. People, here's my thing. When you say he didn't concede or he's a threat to democracy, and you bring up examples of why he's a threat and why he's a terrible president or in such and such, none of the examples you allude to have anything to do with his 4-year period as president. And the reason why I keep bringing that up time and time again is because if I'm in office for 4 years, and while I'm in office for 4 years, you can't list any examples, or that's not possible. You can list 1 or 2 examples of where I just messed up as a president, but you can't list any examples of where I was a real threat to the well-being of our country. Your argument is kind of invalid. Because imagine this. Imagine if I was talking about President Obama, and I said Obama was a terrible president, and somebody asked me, why was he a terrible president? And my response had nothing to do with his 8 years in office. It has everything to do with his relationship with Michelle Obama. You would look at me like I'm crazy. Not saying that you support Obama or not, but it's just an insane take. And that's what people do with Donald Trump. They say he's a threat to our democracy. They say he's a terrible person. They say all these things. And if a Republican asks, why are you saying this? What makes you say this? And you don't bring up nothing from his presidency, but you say, well, look at how he's handling things now. Why does he still want to run? Look at how he handled after he was in office. Look at January 6th. They look at you like you're crazy because they're like, he was in office from 2016 to 2017 to 2018 to 2019. It ended in 2020. And you can't list nothing like from those time periods? It's insane. But anyways, vote responsibly, vote objectively, make sure you're voting for the candidate that makes sense for you based off of your personal or family beliefs or community beliefs or whatever. I say personal beliefs. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next